Sorry, I faked you out just a second ago. We went live, then we stopped, and I had to change the title, so we went live again. Good morning, everybody. This is Grant with State of the Spark, and we've got a quick show for you today. We don't have a long show for you, but we're talking about minimalism. We'll also talk about crypto alpha. What is crypto alpha? Why do you care? What is the definition of the term? You need to know. Even if you're just a layperson, you think, I'm never going to get into crypto. People are going to be talking about it. It's not about crypto investing. It's about alpha. We'll talk about that in a second. We're going to be talking about minimalism and its ability to bring you what I would consider more happiness, more success, but a few quick principles on that I learned from a $900,000 property this weekend. We'll talk about that. But before any of that, you know we've got other news. News that should make you smarter, more intelligent, someone more interesting to talk to around the water cooler at work, or maybe something you could take with you to your Twitter spaces, which is where you'll find me quite a bit last weekend and this week. We'll talk more about that. So we got other news, but before any of that, you know what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Morning Cup of Gratitude. What are you grateful for? What makes you happy today? What did you experience this weekend? What did you experience yesterday? That absolutely brings pure joy to you. What are you grateful for today? And you know, I'm going to start because when we can share what makes us happy, when we can share our points of gratitude with each other, I find that we can actually connect at a deeper level, but also it sets the tone for the rest of our day. So what are you grateful for? I want to hear about it in the comments so I can celebrate with you. Let's start. I'm super grateful for a great weekend with my father. My father's looking for a retirement place, a place to land, and as well as some real estate investment. So Marissa and I built our life for it. So we actually were able to hop in the car and drive over to Cocoa and walk through some properties with him. I'm grateful for Dory Joseph of Dory Joseph, DRJ Real Estate, Dory Joseph Realty, and all the people that enabled us to get together. I'm thankful for the real estate property we have in Cocoa that we were able to crash to and then hang out and fix up together. I'm grateful for the people in my life that made that happen. I'm grateful for the French bakery that I found in downtown Cocoa Village. If you haven't stopped in downtown Cocoa Village, I actually prefer it in some ways better than Cocoa Beach. Cocoa Beach is great for certain things, but Cocoa Village feels more, well, village-like. And we got down there and found an awesome French bakery that was there. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're in Cocoa Beach, Juice and Java and Surf and East are two great places for coffee, environment, and if you got a sweet tooth and you're heading to the beach, you know you're going to burn off the calories. Stop and Juice and Java for a sweet set. I'm grateful for all this and more. What are you grateful for today? I'm grateful for my Twitter community. My Twitter spaces right now are going off the chain with some of the crypto investments, and the Web3 community is like my tribe. These are people who understand the technology. They're running with the technology. We'll talk about that more some other day. Now let's talk about other news. News that'll make you smarter, that'll make you a cosmopolitan, that should lift you up or just make you a little more interesting. Let's talk about it. Jupiter's shady. What I mean by that is Ganymede. Ganymede, fun fact. This is the only fact you probably need to take back to your place of business to be interesting today. Fun fact, what planet has a giant, one of its moons, one of its four major moons, Ganymede? Well, the answer is Jupiter. Ganymede and Europa and Io are three of the largest moons in Jupiter. And in a single 7-day period, Ganymede transits the planet once. Europa, I think it's 2 times. Io 4 times. And this creates an environment whereby there are many eclipses. They pass between Jupiter and the moon quite a bit, and the planets themselves pass close to the Jupiter surface, or basically what we know as the gaseous layer, because Jupiter's a gas giant, right? So this actually creates eclipses that pass all over Jupiter, and there's frequent eclipses. Now, if you want to actually read more and check out more about Jupiter, it's a pretty interesting planet. I like Jupiter as a planet when I think about planets. Do you think about planets? I like Jupiter as a planet for several reasons. Number one, because there are so many moons, there's a lot of science fiction that goes on with these moons around Jupiter. Number two, the mystery of a gaseous giant has always stuck with me. Is there really no surface? The answer, I believe, is no. To a planet that's considered a gas giant, there is no surface. It's basically cloud layer of all sorts of different chemicals from the outside. And as you get closer and closer, what you might call a surface, it's dense. The pressure is dense. And then as you get closer and closer, it basically changes form into probably like a plasma and gets hot and then ultimately has a core. So it's crazy that way. Lisa Welsh jumps in this morning. Good morning, Lisa. She says, grateful that she's teaching her first class on growing this week. I should attend this class because I need to grow more plants on my property. We just had to kill an avocado tree. Sadness. It was a sad day to get rid of that avocado tree, but we had to get rid of it. It was diseased. One of the branches came down, unfortunately, and we were concerned that it might come down on others. So we want to grow other fruit-bearing and food-bearing plants. So check out Lisa Welsh. Lisa Welsh, let us know where people can find information about your class. That's Lisa Welsh. Let's talk about the alpha. And what is alpha? This is not the alpha, I promise. This is the definition of alpha. And then at the end of the show, I'll give you alpha, insider information about crypto. But first, let's talk about the definition of alpha in crypto. For those who don't know, investing, traditional investing, not crypto investing, in traditional investing. And why does this matter to you? Because if you watch this show, you're about freedom. Freedom ultimately is about financial freedom. Well, not ultimately. Freedom is about financial freedom because ultimately freedom is about agency, the ability to act and take action on your own and not be impeded in any way. And that often implies you need financial freedom. A good principle in financial freedom is to understand about investing, and a good principle in investing is alpha. Did you follow those dominoes? Did you connect those dots? You should know a definition of terms. I heard Rich Dad Poor Dad say once that basically financial literacy is missing. And he called it financial literacy and sometimes referred to it as financial intelligence. But financial intelligence is simply financial literacy. Do you have the vocab of finance? Do you know what beta is? Do you know what delta is? Well, these are all investment terms. Do you know what Web3 means as it comes to crypto investments and what staking is? Maybe. That's why we're talking about the definition of alpha. And the definition of alpha basically is one of several terms that if you had the definition of these terms, you could walk in these things. If I showed you what a PE ratio was on a stock, it would more greatly inform you. In fact, when Marissa and I made our investments, when the pandemic tanked to a 5-6 year low and put our money in, one of our requirements was, is it dividend bearing? Do you know what that term means? Some people do, right? But does it have a decent PE ratio? Is it loaded with debt? What's its status? This was a term. If I gave you this term, you could walk in it and make more money. So what is alpha? The definition of alpha in traditional investing, or TradFi, is simply this. Alpha is the expected return on investment higher than the average return on investment. Let me give you a quick example. Lisa Welsh says, boom. Not a clue. Need to learn all of that. I did learn if you break your phone and don't know your PIN, 30,000 can disappear like that. I need to hear more about that story, Lisa Welsh. Apparently she lost 30K, or someone in her world lost 30K because they lost their phone. And I'm wondering if this is your son's investment. Holy shnikes. That's tricky. That is freaky. You got to learn what to protect. We'll talk about that stuff later. But alpha is this. It's the expected return over and above. Yep, Lisa Welsh confirms it was her kid, lost his phone. Do not lose your seed phrase. Do not lose your PIN, because if you do, your crypto investments can disappear. There's other security. We can talk about that in another video. So alpha is this. Alpha means that if you are watching a market and that market or that benchmark or that average says this investment will make $1 of return, but you make $3 of return, the alpha on that is $2. It's the difference between the expected ROI, which should be good, and the traditional ROI, which should be average, and the difference between the two. That is what, when you talk about traditional finance or TradFi, there's another definition of term. TradFi simply means traditional finance. When you talk about traditional finance and they talk about alpha, it could be a positive number. It could be a 0. It could be a negative number, meaning my expected ROI on this is less The S&P 500 makes 8% a year. And if your particular investment went to the toilet, you could have a negative alpha. You could say, well, against the S&P 500, my alpha is -2, meaning I'm expecting negative 16%. Well, this is very complicated, but it means something different in DeFi. Alpha in DeFi is often used in a sentence like this: hey, man, could I get some alpha on that? And all they simply mean is, hey, could I get some insider information? Could I get some insight? Could I get some information that not the public doesn't generally have yet? And the answer might be yes. The answer might be no. But this is alpha. It's primary source information. What's the alpha? What's the secret? Hey, before the public has access to this, which I'll get secondhand information, I want alpha information. I want firsthand information. The idea and its correlate between traditional finance, TradFi, and decentralized finance, DeFi, and the DeFi market, all they simply mean is if I can get insider information, I'll have alpha, meaning I'll have a higher return than other people. So you might be circulating in crypto Twitter, or you might be in a Discord server, and someone might say, hey, give me the alpha on that. And that's all they mean. Give me the insider information. Give me the early access info. Let me in ahead of time. Let me know ahead of time. That way I can get a higher return than the industry average. If you want to learn more about just the quick definition of alpha and how people are searching for it in crypto markets, boom, there you go. In the comments below, you've got access to it. And now you know just a little bit more about crypto. There you go. Let's talk about minimalism. Let's talk about what I did this weekend walking through a $900,000 property and what it taught me about minimalism. So some things this weekend. This weekend was a busy weekend, even for Mr. ADHD here. This weekend, and I say weekend, basically Thursday to Sunday, we walked through five different investment properties. I think it was five. One of them was a $950,000 Spanish Mediterranean house on the river in Cocoa Beach, which, by the way, is in my dream machine, Marissa. We got swept into crypto Twitter. Basically, I developed a small tribe of people that I've been following, and they're following me. And we got active in Twitter, and I'm really liking that platform. And it is faster paced than I ever could have imagined. I also was pulled into the beach life. This was the longest we had spent in our investment property in Cocoa. We were able to make massive improvements in a very short period of time because it's a small property, but it produces very well for us. So we got pulled into the beach life, and I am craving now much more to spend more of my days surfing, doing the beach thing. I don't mind all the work I do. I don't mind all the clients I serve through Spark Sites, but I do want some more sun on my skin. I also got involved in a conversation with a good friend of mine now that I've made. I've been on his podcast, Jarrett Carpenter, and we've become fast friends in the crypto space. He is what I would call my Web3 friend. A DeFi friend, a crypto friend, and we've become fast friends. And we were talking about Airbnbs, and he mentioned Colombia. There's a great way to purchase affordable Airbnbs and make those available to our investor club group, which is coming. Talk more about that in a second. What else did I do this weekend? I had responsibilities with the website company. Two of these companies, I actually had one client close their business and two websites down, only to discover that they just didn't pay for their domain. Two separate websites. They thought their website was down. They just didn't pay for their domain. I deal with that. I don't have time to paint on my painting, but I did add a little bit of a layer of paint onto my painting. I missed my running and stretching routine. Something had to give. And even though I thought a ton about the books I want to continue to write, I've got 3 fiction books and 2 nonfiction books that I'm working, 3 nonfiction books that I'm working on. I didn't write a single one of them, but I had to get someone to also cut down last minute an avocado tree that I alluded to because it was threatening to knock down a fence and knock down our cars. And that's just life as a real estate owner. Now, I dump all of that on you to let you know I did not feel like a minimalist this weekend. In fact, quite the opposite. I thrive in a very busy environment, but you can tell from a lot of the things I described, a lot of these modalities are very diverse. These were very diverse thinking modalities. What's worse about all this is I love all of these things. I love walking through real estate, especially when it's on my dream machine to walk through a Spanish Mediterranean mansion that has its own spaces like this one did. And it was not necessarily a mansion. It was technically only a 2-3, which is a very weird size of a building, very weird layout. But it was gorgeous, and it had this gorgeous outdoor space with a gorgeous pool, and it was within walking distance of downtown Cocoa Village and shooting distance of the beach there. I love all of these things. I love painting. I love writing. I love working out. I love staying fit. I love doing this show. I love getting involved in crypto. I love all of these things. So this weekend was a glorious train wreck of joy as I got to dance, as my mom once said, dazzling dendrites dancing. But I know that I should focus, follow one course until successful. Focus. Which of these things are we focused on? And this was causing me to have one of my more manic ADD moments, but it was under control. I was having a good time. All that to say, have you felt that way? I don't always feel this way. In fact, if I just had my business and a few crypto things, I can paint and write in nights and weekends and do it there, but I can build. I'm a builder. I'm ambitious. I love building things. And it's the only thing that gives my life meaning is to build things for other people, to serve other people. But have you ever had a moment where all things hit at the same time and you realize it's just too much? And you want to cut back, and we often cut back to the things we did as kids, and all I want to do is read awesome fiction novels, write stories, and surf, create things, paint things, and drop all my businesses. No, we're not closing all of our businesses. I'm just sharing with you, have you had a moment like that? Well, what's the answer? To a degree, and it was the answer for me, it's minimalism. And I want you to understand, Lisa Welsh knows. If I know Lisa Welsh, boom, Lisa Welsh says 3 businesses is way too many. In fact, I think 2 businesses is one too many. In all honesty, we need one focal point, and that's why I work overtime to come up with a singular vision that can encompass them all. If people get involved, and I can incentivize that to other people, whether it's pay them or give them benefits or whatever that is. I have to continuously break down the vision, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I think the answer, if you've ever felt an absolute cluster, if you ever felt, man, I love all of these things, but I need a degree of minimalism. But here's the catch with minimalism. A lot of you think it has to do with material possessions, and it doesn't. Let's talk about how the five quick principles about minimalism to encourage you to pursue minimalism, because I'm not going to ask you to throw out your wardrobe or your closet. I'm really asking you to clear up your mind. Let's talk about the 5 aspects of minimalism. Number one, I already gave it to you. Minimalism is not about material things. That could be a fruit. It could be a root. You could clear out the physical things in your life and it clear out mental space. My wife clears out physical things all the time. It doesn't always clear out her mental space. I myself often have very cluttered desks. And would it help? Maybe, to clear up my mental space. But the truth is I just have to get away, not from this space, but from my responsibilities. Number 1, materialism is not solely or primarily even about material things. The elimination of material things could be helpful, but the goals of minimalism are clearing out the internal space of your heart and mind. Number 2, materialism is about getting more bandwidth. Minimalism is meant to add more bandwidth to your life. It's meant to clear your mind. It's meant to remove barriers, clear commitments. It's meant to make room to think and process. When you have that space to think and process, you also finally have a moment to ask yourself meta questions, higher level questions. These higher level questions would be like, do I even really want to do this anymore? I wanted to do it one time. It was a good idea at the time. I wanted to see this thing done, but did I really want to be the person to do it? You can't ask these questions if you don't have the space internally. If you are just heavy laden with responsibilities, well, if you're a good person, as I assume you are because you're watching the show, if you're a good person because you're a spark citizen and you're a person of the world that wants to give more, wants to ignite lives of explosive significance, chances are you're going to take responsibility for the things that are in front of you. A leader, first and foremost, takes responsibility for the thing in front of them. But if you do that, the catch-22 is you quite often don't have the bandwidth to ask yourself, do I even want to be here in the first place? You need more bandwidth. So minimalism, first and foremost, is not about material things. It's about getting your bandwidth back. That's the second thing. It's about getting bandwidth. So if you want to live a minimalist life, no, you don't necessarily have to purge your closet, though that could help. In fact, if anything, that helps because it helps with the placebo of stopping. from chasing responsibilities and chasing the more. This is this infinite creature called more. We chase more. Instead of all of that, cleaning your closet out could probably just cause you to stop. It's like working in the garden. Just stop. The point isn't about gardening as nearly as much as it is stopping you, pattern interrupt of chasing moreness. So the first principle of minimalism is it's not about material items. The second is make sure you make it about bandwidth. Whether you clean out your closet or whether you don't, whether you stop to make dinner, it's not about making dinner. It is, there's that benefit, but it's really about slowing the pace of your mind. Number 3, to achieve minimalism, cut commitments. This is the biggest one. Quite often, the reason we cut out space in our life and the reason we get bandwidth back, the reason we sometimes make minimalism about materialism, getting rid of material things, is we're not committed to them. We don't have an open loop that's taking care of them. That's one less thing I got to take care of. Then we start cleaning out our physical world and it's less loops. But what we are faced with then is the realization that the biggest chunks of commitments, the biggest chunks of responsibilities in our brain, the biggest thing that's causing stress in our life is our commitments. We're committed to our partners. We're committed to the people we're dating. We're committed to the people we're adding to our life. We're committed to the people who have just been floating in our life. We're committed to our clients. I'll tell you right now, the biggest stress in Marissa's life is her commitment to our clients. We love our clients and we're good people and we work hard. Part of the stress is knowing that you always have to be there for them. If they're going to be there for you, if they're going to pay for your services forever, you have to be able to pick up the phone. That's a lot of stress. The third principle of minimalism is if you want to feel more free, cut your commitments. Knowing where to cut and when to cut, though, is the stress of life. This is the actual crux. Did you know Gandhi left his family? We know Gandhi to be this great man, but he left his family. He cut commitments. We've watched Elon Musk get married, I think 4 times, be in 4 or 5 relationships, but he always comes back to cutting them because they steal bandwidth. He's still there. He still delivers the needs for his family. But we look from the outside in and be like, how can you feel like deep connection to these people? And the answer for him is probably, I don't. That's a scary thought. But look at what he's able to do in his life. Jeff Bezos, the same thing. A lot of us get very judgy about these marriages and these relationships, but my question to you is, have you felt anything so strong that it puts your deepest relationship at risk? I know Marissa has. I know I have. If you were to get gut level honest, have you? And some of you I know have. It's not just about spousal relationships. Commitments could be client relationships. A lot of you get your identity from clients needing you, and that's okay. I'm not judging you for that. I do. I get identity from being available for my clients, my friends, my family. That's why I haven't had kids, and I won't, so that I can be more available. But somewhere I've got to cut commitments. If you've cut material things, principle 1, and you've gotten bandwidth back, you're going to realize that that's not what's really stressing you out. It's the demands of your closest relationships and your looser relationships. Just walking around Lakeland, I get a huge amount of identity from that. But there's also a huge amount of commitment, low-key, unspoken commitment that Grant is available. Part of the appeal of me going to any of my investment properties, part of that appeal, the ones outside of Lakeland, is that I won't see people I know as much, and they won't look at me and think of a commitment that we have to each other. And if you were being gut level honest, you'd say the same thing. Part of the idea of vacation is not running into anybody you know. Part of the appeal of traveling internationally, not all, not even dominant, but part of that is cutting commitments. And this is a big one. So principle 3, to achieve minimalism, selectively, carefully, but joyfully, cut your commitments. Number 4. Minimalism is then meant to create creative boredom. If you've not made it about materialism, or maybe you have, but it isn't ultimately about materialism. You could clear your life out if you're chasing minimalism, but don't make it about material things. Take care of what you need to, but then make sure you're getting to the bandwidth part. Once you got to the bandwidth part, you're going to face the specter of commitments and you're going to cut commitments. But after that, you're going to have what I call creative boredom. If you're ADD like me, you're going to find the next project to start. Don't do it. You're going to find the next hobby to pick up. Don't do it. Not yet. Maybe hobby, but not just yet. You're going to want to be bored. And you're even going to spend a season of maybe wrapping up a book. You know, every time we've gotten rid of a business or a equity event, we take some downtime. And in that downtime, we get a little bored. And in that boring downtime, we might close some loops. Oh, there was that one thing I needed to get rid of. And other stuff percolates that you've stuffed down for a while because your brain was too full. Once your brain is empty, you get creative boredom. It's like, oh, this one thing I got to wrap up. Only you jump on that stuff only if it's closing loops. But then you get back to this bored state of, oh my God. This is free time. A lot of you wouldn't know what to do with free time. We experienced this in a big way when we moved to the Dominican Republic. Marissa had something to focus on, but I didn't. I tried to give myself something to focus on, but it was very difficult. I actually went through my most difficult adult depression when we were living in the Dominican Republic. We were living in paradise. I was surfing. We had great food. We were skinny. We were at the beach. I was swimming twice a day. I was in the ocean once a day. I was writing those books I told you about, but I didn't handle freedom well. Meaning emotionally, I didn't manage it well. It was very difficult. We spent a year in and out of this, and it took me about 3 months to get out of it. But we had not wasted, but misinvested. I had misinvested those 3 months enough that the runway I had given myself to build up our next infopreneuring business kind of fell flat. And Marissa got sick, and we were just having a tough time. And we watched our savings and investments dwindle a little bit. And we thought, if we're going to get restarted in the United States, and then some of our values hit us, we want to create more value in the world. And that's when we got into building our empire. We hadn't even built the website company yet. People don't deal with freedom well. This is what we call creative boredom. Can you sit with yourself? Can you face the fact that you're a little more overweight than you want to be? Can you face the fact that you've let lack of discipline slide in? Creative boredom makes you face yourself. It's Luke Skywalker entering the dark forest and seeing Darth Vader only to realize it's himself. It's Harry Potter facing himself off in the shape of Voldemort. It's the next Doctor Strange movie where we realize in the multiverse he's facing himself. Creative boredom. A lot of you stay busy because you know. A lot of you stay busy because you know you'd have to face yourself. Punjit jumps in. Boom. Good morning, Punjit. How you doing, man? Good to see you over at YouTube. And boom, my man, Billy Weigel jumping in from YouTube as well. Gratitude. The guy sings it back to me. I sing it to y'all, and he sings it back to me. I love it. Good morning, Billy. Minimalism. Number one is not about material things, though you could use to clean out your life. If you have one too many investments, cut them. If they're stressful, if you have one too many businesses, cut one. If it's stressful, if you got that one client who is absolutely will not be redeemed, cut them. We actually lost a client this weekend. Punjit, love this guy. I'm good, bro. Loving the attitude, my man. Hey, Punjit, me too. Today, we're not talking about crypto. I don't know how you know about me and the Spark Show, but we're not talking about crypto much, except I'm going to drop some alpha in a little bit. So pay attention about one of our crypto investments, man. Oh, yeah, my dude. I'm so sorry. He says, good morning to you. It's good night for me, unfortunately. Yes, if I'm guessing, I'm going to make some assumptions. Punjit is somewhere in India. And yeah, it's probably about 6 p.m., right? We have some partners we work with, Punjit, in Ahmedabad, in Gujarat. So we work with some people over there. So I know it's nighttime. Sorry for keeping you up, my man. But minimalism, don't make it about material things. Number two, it's about getting mental bandwidth back. Number three, you want to get a lot of mental bandwidth back. Cut some commitments because those relationships are what's holding you down. I'm actually not Punjit. Then what's your story? Then what's your name say? It's coming through. Forgive me, man. Forgive me, Punjit, but the name's coming through as Punjit. I apologize, my man. Number four, minimalism is meant to create creative boredom. In that boredom, it's meant to create boredom. And in that boredom, you're going to have a lot. You're going to wrestle with some demons. You're going to be tempted to start new projects, but don't do any of that. Sit with yourself, because ultimately you need to ask yourself, knowing what I now know. And this is where taking a sabbatical. I knew of a group, Steven Sagmeister, great TEDx talk. He said he took a sabbatical every 7 years to make sure he pattern interrupt and asked himself, knowing what I now know. And that's your sentence. Start everything with this. Knowing what I now know. Poonjit says he put that up there for his name just for giggles. Sorry to interrupt. No problem, dude. I got you, man. Sorry for calling you Poonjit. Give me your real name and I'll give you a shout later on, or join our Discord and we can hang out there, man. Number 4 is get into that creative boredom. Steven Sagmeister said every 7 years he took a sabbatical where he cut all responsibilities so that he could ask himself this one question: knowing what I now know. And you need to give yourself the grace, because sometimes we get hooked into commitments. This is what my identity has been, so we don't want to give up. Whether it's being Mr. Crypto, as we're getting into right now with Web3, whether it's being, hey, Grant owns that website company. Alan. Okay, he put Poonjit, but my dude's name is Alan. Thanks for sharing, Alan. Didn't mean to make it all about you or call you out too much. I appreciate you sharing, man. Alan, I'm Grant. Pleasure to meet you. But taking pattern interrupt breaks, sabbaticals. Me and Marissa took a trip to Iceland, and it was very difficult for me. She'll tell you, we hiked in some of the most gorgeous areas, but I had some real dark moments in this because I was facing myself for the first time. Changing some life shifts for me and watching her evolve was very difficult for me. She's changing into somebody else. That's what you do as adults. Do you still have the grace to still partner with one another and encourage and uplift one another? Yeah. So number 4 is minimalism is meant to create creative boredom, but out of facing your own demons, out of resisting starting new projects, out of taking a commitment sabbatical, you're going to ask yourself a question: knowing what I now know, what of this do I even want anymore? Knowing what I now know, is this who I want to be? You are allowed to reinvent yourself. Alan can name himself Poonjit. I don't care. We could pull up stakes and move to the mountains. I don't care. But it's going to be hard if you don't pause, if you don't allow minimalism to cut material things or not, make it about bandwidth, cut some commitments, but be strategic about it, because that's going to be the hardest thing to do. And then you're going to face your identity in creative boredom. But out of that, you'll start feeling creative. Number 5, this is it. This is the end. Entering new industries and fields will require the opposite of minimalism. You see, in this stage 4, this creative boredom, you're going to actually finally get massive clarity about who you want to be now. Knowing what you now know. Poonjit just joined the Discord. His name's Suspect7. I'll join you in a second over there later this morning, Alan. I really appreciate it, man. So number 5, once you go through season 4 of having creative boredom and getting a vision for who you want to be, season 5 is going to challenge you, because you've worked at all this minimalism, but you're going to enter a new space. Whether it's me actually sitting down, cutting everything out of my life and then starting to write again. Or what we're doing right now, we're starting up this investment club, which hint a little bit of alpha, which I'll share in details in a second. We've got an NFT pass that we're going to have for our investment club, and then we're going to go with a follow-up airdrop of a PFP NFT, which for those who don't know, it's a profile pic that's going to be rolling out. And all of that, we're building out this. We're going to have a little bit of a DAO. It's not going to be a total DAO. We're going to have our own currency coming. It's going to be all of a holistic ecosystem to support minority and female-owned businesses globally, because we believe the revolution is coming. We want to play in that space. And we already have a website company. We've been on some of the cutting edge of technology. Why not start our own investment club? And in the middle of all of that, we want to basically repel the toxic attitude that currently has been touching a lot of these DAOs, a lot of these crypto projects. There's just some toxic negative energy. And we've met a lot of awesome people in the crypto space. My point is this, point 5 about minimalism. At some point, you're going to have to enter maximalism. To enter a new industry, you're going to have to absorb a ton of information. To enter a new industry, you're going to have to connect with a lot of new people. To enter Web3 or crypto, or let's say it's Lisa Welsh starting to do infopreneuring, whether it's us adding marketing to Spark Sites, which we're going to be doing this year. You have to learn more. You have to build more relationships. And when you build more relationships, you have to make commitments to those relationships, even if it's just showing up. I'm going to show up for you. I just met Alan, Suspect7. I just met Alan. He's going to join the Discord. I just made a commitment to him. We're building new relationships. I have to show up in the Discord. He's going to be like, this guy doesn't show up here. It's a commitment. So at some point, if minimalism does its job, what you're prepping for is the next inhale. Minimalism is an exhale. You're releasing things. Knowing what I now know, what do I need to release? But you're prepping yourself for an inhale. And hopefully, If you're doing it well and you're being authentic to yourself for yourself, the inhale will be a bunch of new goodness. For us, it's Web3 and real estate investments and a little bit of infopreneuring in the show. New following, new people, new connections with this show. And here's why we do all of this. Why? Why am I encouraging you to pursue minimalism and then to be okay with the coming maximalism? I'm trying to give you some mental tools because the world needs more of you. Dude, Punjit Allen says, adopt, embrace, or you will be left in the dust. Always keep an open mind. 100%. And Alan, if you go up the way you can find Billy Weigel from YouTube, he's a good friend of ours. He came out last week. He was saying something similar. We have to be adaptive. Web3 is coming, but not just Web3. If you want to be a successful investor, in fact, our Discord is evolving to be more than just the patron with our crypto trades, which we have that, but there's not a lot of trades because we're doing a lot of dollar cost averaging. But everyone's wanting to talk about financial freedom, financial independence, retire early. I don't know if any of you are going to actually retire early, but financial independence is possible. If you're going to do that, the number one trait is adaptability. And with minimalism, minimalism is just meant to give you the mental resilience to be adaptive, to be able to handle when maximalism comes and to have the mental tools of returning to minimalism. You're hearing meditation in all of this too, mindfulness, because if we're going to be available for the pace at which things are changing and we're going to be able to play in that space, I'm not just talking crypto, I'm talking about financial independence. The real estate market is shifting. Can me and Marissa handle that? Can our investment partners handle that? The crypto market shifted. We put a group of investors that got together in Wonderland. And for those who don't know about the Wonderland time ecosystem, boom, most people lost 99% of our investment. Go back to my video. We only lost 40% because we were staying adaptive. And we're still evolving. Those guys are all going to get a free pass to the investment group, Spark Citizens. Let's talk about that. Why are we talking about any of this? Because we're talking about financial independence. Let's just stretch that out a little bit. We talk about minimalism. We talk about igniting lives of explosive significance and the state of the Spark and Spark Citizens. Because the world needs more, not more stuff. The world doesn't need more things, more fluff, more societal carbohydrates. The world doesn't need that. What the world does need more of something. What the world needs more of is goodness. What the world does need more of is love, affection, creativity, kindness. Your bros need more hugs. Your girls need more high fives. Your LGBTQ needs more affirmation. The world needs more kindness, more optimism, more art, more ingenuity. I say all that because it needs more of you. If you're watching the show and you stick around for a minute, I fully believe you get the vibe. And if you get the vibe, then you know being a Spark Citizen is igniting lives of explosive significance. This is why we're talking about minimalism to help you have the resilience to endure all the pessimism out there, to endure all the negativity, to endure and be resilient against how the world does by entropy, not by maliciousness. But by entropy, wants to pull you down, wants you to become a median. It wants you to be average. Basically, entropy wants you to become part of the average. It wants you to be average, but you're not. You're extraordinary. State of the Spark is about igniting lives of explosive significance. So here's the quick alpha. So let's bridge this into how minimalism can create resilience. Resilience creates balance so you can think creatively. Here's what we're doing. This is alpha. This is alpha. I gave you the definition of alpha above. Me and my investor friends are building towards an investor club. I mentioned this just a second ago to Alan here. I've already mentioned it to Billy Weigel, and it's all happening through the show. So we're basically creating an investor club, and your access to our investors, to our tax professionals, to our opportunities will only happen with an NFT pass. Go out and get a legit Ethereum address right now. Go set up your Coinbase account. Go set up your MetaMask. No, we're not doing anything with this yet, but get ready. Know how to move Ethereum. Know how to move money. This isn't a financial advice, but if you want to participate, this is how you'll be able to get access to our NFT pass. So we're going to be dropping for free to our initial founding members. I'm going to call them investors, not because they're necessarily investing in us, but because it's an investment club. So we're going to be dropping free, but you got to check where this is going to. to our founding investors, then our patrons, and then we're going to make it available to our broader Discord members and then our followers of the show. And we're going to mint some of these. Now, this is going to be nuts because we are literally going to mint the initial ones for free, but it's an investment club, which means we'll all be investing in stuff together. And then each of the founding investors will get 3 of them, one of them to keep for themselves forever so that they can stay a member as the value increases, but so that you can also get access to our alpha, our investments, what we're doing, and participate in giving back and sowing into other minority and female-owned businesses around the world. One of them, or you get 2 others, and you can either sell them on the open market as demand to be in the club increases. We're going to do a ton of marketing here because demand to the club is going to go up. You'll have a free pass, and you can sell this on OpenSea. If you look at some of our competitors, they're selling for like 5, 10, 20 ETH right now. 20 ETH. ETH is going for 3,000 per. $60,000 for access to these investment clubs. It's happening. Because if you're a holder of this, then what we're going to do, or you could give your pass away to a family or loved one. You just send it to them from OpenSea, and we'll show you how to do all this. There'll be training on how to do all of this. Our investors are watching the show, so we're going to bring these guys on the show. We're going to build this in the open so people can see how we're building it, but we're going to give 3 passes away to founding members, but you got to be a participant, and we're going to have ranking in the Discord for those who are active in the Discord, sharing what's going on. But we're also going to have a mental health. The TLE, the Total Life Experience, will be a place in the Discord where we can talk about fitness and health, healthy, happy relationships, work we enjoy, and spirituality. Why? Because we're trying to nurture a better type of DAO. We're trying to nurture a better group of people. So we're going to release the founding investment passes, and each of the founding investors will get 3. You can sell one or give them away. Right after that, we're going to launch PFP images, which will be its own NFT line that people can buy. But the floor for that's going to be 2 ETH right out of the gate, or 1.5 ETH, I think is what we set it at. And it's going to be a fun little thing. I'll give the name away later. We'll sneak peek some of the designs and names only to founding members who hold the NFT pass. They're the ones who are going to be able to see this. Now, I don't want to jump ahead and share too much of the roadmap, but our end game is to execute what we've been executing all along. Igniting lives of explosive significance in a tangible, physical way. And these are technological tools. Web3 is not a fad. NFTs are not a fad. These are better tools. With your NFT, you can access certain websites. With the NFT, you could access certain aspects of the Discord. And this is where the technology is going. This is where the conversation is happening. So we are just leveraging technology to do it better, to do it faster, to get more people involved around a mission. And that's why you're here today. I want to encourage you, whether you practice minimalism, whether you're cutting commitments, whether you're getting rid of material things today in order to create bandwidth, whether you're facing your demons in creative boredom, or whether you're facing a new industry and adding maximalism to your life. I'm sharing all of this with you, including the alpha of what we're up to in the Discord. Jump over there. That's what we're dealing with it. I'm sharing all of this with you for one reason, so that you and I together, as a non-location nation called State of the Spark, execute on the vision. And that's igniting lives of explosive significance.